Hi, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove, and I'm back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I received over the past 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your workout program, diet plan, supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com. Or you can also DM me those questions on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. Okay, so let's get started with this week's No Filter Q&A with question number 1. Nick, what are your thoughts on the new food pyramid that was released by the US government? I believe the new food pyramid that you're referring to is the one that suggested that Lucky Charms cereal was healthier than a steak. So when it comes to these pyramids, these food pyramids that are released by the government, we have it here in Canada as well. We have the Canada Health Food Guideline. I think they're laughable. I tend to just completely ignore them now because they're ridiculous. To suggest that a cereal like Lucky Charms cereal is healthier than a piece of red meat is just ridiculous. Like when you look at the amount of sugar that's in cereal, right? And you're telling people, you're encouraging people that this is a healthier option to have than a piece of steak. It not only is it reckless, it's dangerous. The average person who doesn't know anything about dietary nutrition is going to take that statement. They're going to look at that pyramid and say, oh, I can feed these cereals to my kids because they're now encouraged as healthier options. And it's bullshit. And not to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I'm thinking that maybe General Mills has something to do with this food pyramid. I mean, why not? That's a multi-million-dollar company, right? And they would have all types of these crappy cereals out there. So to put out there and say that these foods are healthy and encouraged to have on a regular basis, to me, that's just reckless. And as I said, dangerous. Now, and this is coming from someone who, if we're using the example of the steak versus the Lucky Charms, I don't even eat red meat. But if you're comparing, let's say, a piece of flank steak, which is very lean source of protein and it has a good source of protein as well, and you're comparing that to sugar in a box and you're telling people, oh, no, the sugar in the box is much healthier. Doesn't make any sense. Okay. So it's the same thing when here in Canada, we have the Canada Health Food Guideline. It's better now that it's been updated. I believe it was updated about 4 or 5 years ago. It's slightly better than it was from previous years, but it's still way out there. So when it comes to these government funded programs and these so-called studies, and I don't know, guys, I don't buy it. I'm always open to hearing different opinions and reading different studies. But when you're looking at something like Lucky Charms cereal or any of these cereals for that matter that are containing so much sugar, and we're talking processed sugar, you're giving that to your kids, like that is so bad. And to encourage those foods and tell people that they're healthy, again, reckless, dangerous, and it just makes you look bad. It just makes you look ignorant. For anyone who knows anything about dietary nutrition, reading that, they're just gonna be like, no. So I don't even get frustrated with it anymore. I don't even address it with clients. I just say, no, ignore it, because it's not even worth acknowledging, right? It's just, no. But again, I think it's dangerous. For the average person out there that doesn't know anything about dietary nutrition or food science, it's bad because it's giving you the wrong message. And, I honestly believe like there's a reason why we're seeing more and more people have health problems now than we did, say, 20, 30 years ago. And it's because the diets are changing and they're not necessarily changing for the better. And especially if all the information and misinformation we have out there when it comes to dietary nutrition, when bullshit like this is released, again, dangerous. So what do I think about it? I think it's crap. I put it back up there with the Canada Health Food Guideline. I think that's crap as well. I honestly think, and I've said this for years, if you want to get your diet in check, you have to make sure that you're watching your sugar intake, number one. That is the number one thing, right? And then you can start looking at, okay, my carbohydrates, my fats, my healthy fats, my lean protein sources, really like dissecting your, not only your macronutrients, but your micronutrients, right? But sugar is the main thing. And as I always have, anyone who works with me on a nutritional plan will tell you, I try to keep my guys under 30 grams of sugar per day and my ladies under 25 grams of sugar per day, which is natural sugar. Rarely, if ever, do I add processed sugar to anyone's plan. And if I do, it'll be like, have it for a cheat meal. But this is not something that should be consumed on a daily basis. Okay, next question. Nick, do you Oh, sorry. Nick, did you see Equinox's latest marketing campaign? They refuse to sell memberships to New Year's resolutioners on New Year's Day. Yes, I did see it. I was actually going to write a blog about it, but I had quite a few people on Instagram forward me Equinox's Instagram page with their new marketing campaign saying, I think it's "We Don't Speak January." And, you know, Equinox has always been a little bit self-righteous. They've always rubbed people the wrong way with certain other ad campaigns that they've used over the years. I think the owner is was a major Trump supporter as well and donated a lot to the Trump campaign for his run at the election. So I know that caused some issues as well. Like obviously, I'll give you my personal opinion on that. I think they should fire their marketing team. I think that's terrible. I think it's really bad to discourage people who are trying to make a change in their life, regardless of what time of year it is. If it's New Year's, or if it's the middle of summer, or if it's the middle of spring, who cares what time of year it is? Especially as a gym, especially if you're in a fitness industry, you should be encouraging people to come into your establishment and use your facility and pay for your services. So to discourage someone just because it's their New Year's resolution to come to your gym and join your gym and become a paying member, I think that's ridiculous. No, I did read their defense saying that no, we're not trying to shame New Year's resolutioners. We're not trying to, you know, scare people away and saying no, we're better than you. What they were simply saying is that they don't believe in New Year's resolutions, which is fine. You don't have to believe in making a New Year's resolution to go to the gym, but to tell people we're not going to sell memberships to you on New Year's Day because we want to discourage these people who are coming in for maybe 1 month or 6 weeks and will never come back again, you're shaming people. So, I mean, you're supposed to be, if you work in the fitness industry, your number one job is to motivate people to be healthy and fit, not discourage them. So yeah, I think they should definitely fire their marketing team. And the thing is, what I noticed, I looked at their Instagram page earlier today too, and they're doubling down on this campaign. They keep posting more and more about how they don't speak January. And again, I see some mixed reviews. There's a lot of people who are obviously members of Equinox who are supporting this campaign because they're like, yeah, we're there to train. We don't want this New Year's crowd in. But there's a lot of people who train at that gym too who are like, this is a terrible idea. And I wouldn't be surprised if you lose some members based on this. I mean, yes, it's a known fact that most people who join the gym January 1st, first week of January, will leave the gym within 6 weeks. Most, but not all. I can tell you right now, I have tons of clients who started with me on the first week of January of a new year, and they are still with me to this day. And we're talking 15, 20 years ago. So some people, you know, it takes a calendar year to change, and then they're ready to make that change. So be it. If someone decides to join your gym in March 15th, why is that any different from someone who wants to join your gym on January 1st? Right? To me, it's a terrible marketing campaign. They should take it down. They should apologize, retract the statement that they put out there. And honestly, it's terrible. I'm not behind that. I don't support that. Myself personally, I've always said anyone's welcome to train with me. I don't care if you're a beginner. I don't care if you're an athlete. I don't care if you're an advanced lifter or if you're making a New Year's resolution. You know, everyone's welcome to train with me. I encourage people to work out. I encourage people to follow a healthy diet and improve their quality of life. So that marketing campaign, ridiculous, really bad idea. And they're getting a lot of backlash for it. If you go on Equinox's Instagram page, you'll see they're getting a lot of negative comments, more negative comments than positive ones for sure. I read through about 100 of them this week, and they were bad. They were really bad. And the funny thing is that they're doubling down on it. So they're not taking it down so far. So we'll see. I mean, I know they're accepting members now because their whole thing was we're not accepting members on January 1st. Okay, I think January 1st is a holiday anyway. So you could say, well, we're just not doing memberships that day. But you don't have to announce it like this is a big thing that you're just not accepting New Year's resolutioners on that day. This puts a bad taste in people's mouth, and bad idea, terrible marketing campaign. Like I said, Equinox, fire your marketing managers today. Okay, get rid of them. Find a new marketing team. All right. Hi, Nick. Is there anything I can do to make my urine smell any better? It's always dark yellow and smells terrible. I never eat asparagus, so I don't think it's diet related. Well, just because you don't eat asparagus doesn't mean that your urine's going to smell great, right? Yeah, asparagus can make your urine smell a little funny, but There's other things too that can make your urine smell really bad. And I hate to break it to you, but it most likely is your diet. To give you an idea, what I usually recommend for a lot of people I work with is to consume at least 2 liters of water a day. And so one of the things I tell my clients is try to make sure your urine is clear. Dark yellow is not good. You want a clear, it almost should look like water that's coming out of you. Because remember, when you pee, it flushes everything out from your kidneys, right? So you're flushing a lot of like toxins out of your body, and it's you want to make sure that you're getting a lot of clearing out your system, right? So usually dark urine is related to diet. So if you're having, for example, a lot of sugar, a lot of processed carbohydrates, a lot of saturated fats, that can all cause your urine to be a little bit more foul and smell, and also darker as well. So alcohol is a big one. If you're someone who drinks a lot of alcohol, that can definitely have an effect on your urine. And also, it can also have an effect on your shit. So I don't want to get too much into this, but what comes out of you is usually related to what you put inside. So whether that's diet or supplement related, it's something you're doing. So I would be not necessarily going on a cleanse, but to clean up the diet, making sure that you're consuming a lot of whole grain foods, lots of water. As I said, 2 liters of water a day minimum. Just get that in you. Just clean ingredients. That's what you want. Whole, clean foods. So I would be looking at your diet. If you're someone who eats out a lot, that could be if you have a lot of like foods that contain lots of like sauces, and you're having all kinds of condiments, that could be it causing it as well. So definitely look at your diet. It's the same thing. I've had people tell me that when they sweat, they smell, but they notice that their body odor smells like they're actually having really bad BO. I say, well, do you eat a lot of spicy foods? Like, oh yeah, I usually eat this, and I'm like, okay. So sometimes it is diet related. More often than not, it is diet related. So like I said, lots of water, clean whole foods. Try that for a few weeks. And if that doesn't work, you might want to consider a cleanse, but I wouldn't go that far just yet. I think it is your diet. And if you want, you can message me and send me an example of what you're eating, and we can dissect it together. But more often than not, when someone's telling me they have really bad or foul smelling urine or even shit, it's 9 times out of 10, it's diet related. Okay. Hey, Nick, Joe Rogan is claiming that white rice is healthier than brown rice due to high arsenic levels found in brown rice. Is there any truth to this? Interesting enough, I had another one of my clients message me last night about this as well. So this must be something that Rogan just put out recently, or it's a clip that's gone viral. I like Joe Rogan. I do. There's a lot of truth that he speaks, and I agree with a lot of stuff that he says. But when it comes to this, I think he's just speaking out of his ass. Listen, when it comes to comparing brown rice to white rice, there are differences. Now, I'm not going to go as far to say that white rice is unhealthy, because that's not necessarily true. But I'm not going to also say that white rice is healthier than brown rice, because that's not true either. To address the arsenic comment first, for those that don't know, arsenic is a toxin, right? And there's a lot of unorganic arsenic that can be found in brown rice. But here's the thing: is you would have to consume so much brown rice for that to have any adverse side effects on you whatsoever. And I'm talking like rice every meal of the day. So if you're eating 6 meals a day and you're having rice 6 of those meals, 7 days a week, 42 meals of brown rice, yeah, you could be at risk for developing certain cancers down the road. Because unfortunately, that is a side effect of arsenic in your foods. But there's arsenic in a lot of our foods. And there's arsenic also in white rice. There's just more arsenic in brown rice, okay? But we're talking, you'd have to consume so much of it. So for the average person who's consuming rice once, maybe twice a day, not every day of the week, because as I always tell my clients, mix up your carbohydrate sources. So if you're having brown rice one meal, have sweet potatoes another meal, have quinoa another meal, have yams another meal. So you're not having brown rice with every meal. If you're doing that, you should be fine. You shouldn't have any issues. And my issue with white rice is that it's much higher on glycemic index than brown rice is, right? So a lot of times, and they've done studies on this, don't take my word, research it. They've done studies on this that have proven that white rice puts you more at risk for developing diabetes than brown rice does, right? for that reason with the glycemic index. So you have to be careful. And with brown rice has lots more fiber, and it allows you to keep you feeling fuller for a longer period of time because of that fiber. And it also keeps your blood sugars levels stable throughout the day. Whereas white rice has a tendency to spike your blood sugar levels. And a lot of people tell me that when they have white rice, and I've noticed this myself in the past when I used to consume white rice, is within about an hour, hour and a half after I'm done eating that meal of white rice, I'm hungry again. Whereas with brown rice, I'm fine because of the fiber content. It's keeping my blood sugar levels stable. So to sit there and say that brown rice is unhealthy and white rice is much healthier, no, that's not true. It's not true. If you're really worried about the arsenic and you're really worried about, how clean your brown rice is, stick with basmati and soak it. That's what I do with my rice. So if I usually cook up a big batch of rice, like I'll put in like 4 cups of rice, then I'll cook that for the week or for a few days anyway. But the night before I cook that rice, I soak it in water. So I'll put it in a big pot and I'll soak it in cold water and I'll leave it sit there for like 24 hours. And then I'll cook it the next day in my rice cooker. So if you're that concerned, do that. Rinse it, let it sit there. Actually, if you do that, you allow it to sprout, which is even better. So, I mean, that's what I would do if you're that concerned. But honestly, if you're worried about the arsenic in the brown rice, no, it's ridiculous. I'm not saying that there's not arsenic. There is, and there are high levels. But unfortunately, in this day and age, with all the pollution, that's man-made. That's the problem there. So even if you're going organic, there's still going to be a little bit of arsenic in your brown rice. It's going to be there. So, I mean, should you be consuming brown rice on every meal? No. But do I think it's dangerous to eat? No. Do I think it's healthier than white rice? Absolutely not. So I'm not going to agree with Rogan on that one. And like I said, I agree with Joe Rogan on a lot of things, but that's not one of them. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. Should I train my abs every day or every second day if I want to get a 6-pack? And how many sets should I be doing for each ab exercise? If you want to get a 6-pack, focus on your diet first. That's number one. Okay, so diet is always number one when it comes to your abdominal region. Some people genetically, they just have great abs. I talked about this, I believe it was last week or the week before on the channel, how I have a friend who doesn't even work out and he's got ripped 6 he's got an 8-pack. He doesn't even work out. He just has very low body fat and has great genetics for developing the transverse abdominals, the rectus abdominals, and the intercostals and obliques. So that goes to show you, I mean, he does have a fairly clean diet, but doesn't even go to the gym. So it really comes down to see those abdominals is low body fat in that area. So that's going to come to a combination of A, genetics, and B, diet. Now, when it comes to training, of course, when you train your abs, that's going to help improve that area as well for most people who are not genetically gifted in that region. But I would treat your abs like any other muscle group. So you wouldn't go to the gym and train your legs every day if you wanted your legs to grow, right? Or at least I hope you wouldn't. That's a good way to get injured. And if anything, you're just going to overtrain the muscle group. So same thing with your abs. If you train your abs every day, all you're going to do is you're going to overtrain that area. So what I would advise you to do is train your abs once, maybe twice a week. If you're going to train them twice a week, maybe one workout focus on the upper abdominals and then the second workout focus on the lower abdominals, right? And that could look like something like, say, maybe 2 or 3 exercises for the upper abdominals, do your regular 3 or 4 sets. So you're getting in like, maybe 8 or 12 sets for the abs. And then a few days later, do the lower abdominals and do the same thing. But I wouldn't overtrain your abdominals. That's not going to do anything. It's not going to give you better results. Most likely it's going to overtrain the area and you're not going to be able to stimulate muscle growth there. So I wouldn't do that. I would be looking at your diet though. And obviously if you're someone who puts on weight easily, you might want to add in a little bit of more cardiovascular activity into your weekly routine. If you're someone like myself who has a very fast metabolism, you can probably get away with not doing, if any, cardio, although you should be doing some cardio, but not for fat burning purposes. And then just clean up your diet. So that's what I'd be looking at. Clean diet, train them like any other muscle group, once or twice a week, don't overtrain them, and that should be. Okay. Hi, Nick. Why don't you use circuit training in your online programs like you do when you train clients in person? I'm just wondering, as I noticed my current plan I'm following on the app is different from what you do with me in the gym. Sorry. You're right. So when it comes to my online coaching programs, rarely do I incorporate circuit training into someone's plan because I'm assuming if I'm working with you or even if I'm not working with you and you're just following one of my programs that's on the app, I'm assuming you're training out of a commercial gym, so you don't have the luxury to do circuit training, right? It's very difficult to circuit train if you're training out of a commercial gym because you can never tell who's going to be on what piece of equipment. And I also think that it's a little bit selfish to do that as well. So if you're in a really busy gym and you're taking up 3 or 4 pieces of equipment, I mean, that's not cool. That's bad gym etiquette. So that's why I don't do it. I don't know the way your gym is laid out. So let's say I give you a chest and back workout and you're supersetting. Well, let's say all the back equipment is on one end of the gym and all the chest equipment is on the other end of the gym. Then you're going back and forth. I mean, that's going to take you forever. So you're better off just doing a basic straight set and keeping your rest periods to 45 seconds to a minute between each set. And that to me is fine. That works great. Whenever I trained at a commercial gym, I never superset. I never circuit train. I never do trisets. I just do my basic straight sets. I'll do a set, take my rest, 45 seconds to a minute, and I'll do another set. And I'll stick on that same exercise for my 4 to 5 sets, and then I'll move on to the next exercise. I've mentioned this before. I don't think that circuit training is any more effective than basic straight set training. But if you're in a private training facility like I am, and you're working with a personal trainer, obviously you can work out a little bit more efficiently with your time. So that's why I incorporate circuit training when I work with people in person on the floor. Also, a lot of the people I work with on the floor really only go to the gym 3-4 times a week, and they don't go to another gym on their own. They just train with me at my facility. So I have to be strategic with how I implement their exercises into each workout. So if I'm working with someone who says trains with me just 3 times a week, well, I've got to figure out how I can combine all the muscle groups into 3 different workouts, which is not always that easy. So if I'm giving day 1, let's say chest and back workout, day 2, shoulders, bis, and tri workout, and day 3, a full lower body with maybe some abdominal work, I've got to figure out how can I put these exercises in to fit them all within the 45 to 60-minute period, because that's how long my private and partner training sessions are, 45 minutes to 60 minutes. So that's why I circuit train, just so we can use our time more efficiently in the gym. But if you're training out of a commercial gym and you're following a 6-day training split, my recommendation, or even a 5-day training split, my recommendation, stick with basic straight sets, keep those rest periods 45 seconds to a minute. You're not going to get any less of a workout. And you're still using your time efficiently, because don't forget, if you're working on a 5 to 6 day training split, you obviously can give a little bit more volume to each muscle group, and you have a little bit more time to focus on each muscle group in the gym. So that's why I recommend circuit training at a private facility versus basic straight set training when you're at a commercial gym. But that's the only reason. All right, next question. Nick, do you have any recommendations on how to make my chest bigger? I'm naturally a skinny guy and my chest always looks concaved. I had the same problem when I was a teenager. When I was growing up as a teenager from the ages of 14 to 17, I was really skinny, like really skinny. Like I had a hard time putting on weight. That's funny because when I was a kid, I was actually overweight. But as soon as I became a teenager, it's just like the weight just came off me and I was really skinny. And when I started going to the gym, I really struggled with my chest. I had the exact same problem. My chest was concave. And it would cause me to kind of round my back and slouch my shoulders because I was really self-conscious of that, right? So fortunately for me, I mentioned this in a blog a few weeks ago, when the first gym I went to, it was a lot of old school bodybuilders that were at that gym, and they taught me how to train properly. That combined with, I was using the Arnold Schwarzenegger encyclopedia book, allowed me to create a workout program that would allow me to put on the maximum amount of muscle for my genetics and my body structure. And like you, naturally very lean person, I struggled adding muscle onto my body. It was a fight to put on every ounce of muscle. But what I find works for men when it comes to building a bigger chest is to focus primarily on the upper portion of your chest at the beginning of your workout. When you come into the gym at the beginning of your workout, you're at your strongest, right? You have the most amount of energy. So that's the time to focus on your weaker areas. Now, if you look at the pectoralis major and minor as a whole, and I'm saying you look at a basic anatomy chart, you're going to see that the upper chest makes up about 80% of that region. So it only makes sense to try to focus on hitting that area first, right? Most guys go into the gym and they bang out sets on the flat barbell press. And I mentioned this in my blog from 2 weeks ago, that that's a big mistake, because what's happening is your shoulders aren't warmed up properly enough because you're stimulating it from the wrong angle. You're on a flat bench first, which is going to use more anterior deltoids. You're better off going to an incline first, retracting your shoulder blades and getting your upper pectoralis first, right? And that way you're actually going to warm up not only your anterior deltoids, but you're going to warm up your rotator cuffs as well. So I always advise my clients, especially my guys, is to start off their workout with either an incline barbell press or an incline dumbbell press. And I find that works really well. What I'll typically do with a lot of my clients, especially the ones like the guys who struggle in that area, I'll give them their first exercise, let's say a low incline barbell press, and their second exercise, a high incline dumbbell press. So their first two exercises of their chest routine are both on inclines. And then I'll give them a flat either dumbbell or barbell press. And then I'll finish them off usually on a low incline fly. So I find low incline flies, which you don't see many guys doing in the gym, work really well for building up the pec minor, but the upper portion of that chest as well. You see a lot of guys doing flat dumbbell flies, but rarely will you see them doing low incline flies. Cable crossovers work really well as well. One of the things I would recommend though, if you're doing a cable crossover, is when you bring the cables together, try to give it at least a 1-2 hold in the middle. So a good 2 count hold, and squeeze that area as hard as you can. And when you're doing a crossover, you really want to make sure that your shoulders are not pronating forward. You want to make sure your shoulders are up and back. And that way you'll take the anterior deltoids out of the equation and simulate more of the pec minor and even a little bit more pec major. So that's my recommendation if you're trying to build a bigger and broader chest. Focus on the upper chest at the beginning of your workout. Your first 2 exercises, put them on some inclines. Like I said, low incline barbell, high incline dumbbell, and then move on to your flat. As most people know who train with me, I don't believe in decline presses. I think they cause more risk than benefit. I know a lot of people don't agree with me on that. I won't go into that today. I've talked about that numerous times in the past. But then I would finish that workout off with a low incline fly and maybe some crossovers at the end. So 3 presses, 2 flies, that's a great chest workout. Focus on the inclines, and that should help build up your chest. Hey Nick, lately I've been feeling really weak in the gym. I'm even having to lower my weight on some of the exercises I've been doing. Is there anything I can do to fix this? Without training you, it's really hard for me to tell you exactly what to do unless I work with you. But it sounds to me like you're a little bit overtrained. So it might be a good idea to take a few days off the gym, which I know might seem counterproductive because you're saying I'm getting weaker. Taking time away from the gym, won't that only make me even more weaker? Not necessarily. Sometimes it's good to take a step back, let your body just rest, recover, get in a few extra calories, maybe have an extra cheat meal or 2 for the next 2 or 3 days, just to get your body just to relax, get those cortisol levels down, and then go back to the gym. And what happens with that is you notice that your body is able to replenish glycogen storages much more efficiently, and you'll come back feeling stronger, right? And it does work for a lot of guys who are overtrained. In my younger years, I always believed there was no such thing as overtraining. But if you're someone like me who works out 6 days a week, it's easy to overtrain. It is. Now, the average person doesn't even come close to overtraining because most people, it's hard to get them into the gym, never mind 3 times a week. Some people don't even go to the gym once a week. So the average person, I don't think, is at risk for overtraining, but it sounds to me like you might be overtrained. Now, obviously, there could be other issues. There could be dietary issues. I don't know what your diet looks like. So that's another thing I would be looking at too. What's your water intake? Water is crucial. A lot of times when I'm working with someone, I know what's one of the things I ask in my weekly check-ins is how much water are you consuming? Because if you're only consuming, let's say, a couple glasses of water a day, or you're getting your water from coffee, you're already dehydrated. So you've got to really make sure that you're replenishing those muscle cells with lots of H2O, tons of it. So it goes back to my theory of having those 2 liters of water a day and I find that works great. Quality of sleep. Sleep's really important. I notice that more as I get older now too. I try to aim for at least 6 to 7 hours of sleep. I don't feel I need 8, but I need at least 6. 7 for me is that sweet spot. 7, if I get 7 hours of sleep, I can go super heavy in the gym the next day. And also I look at meal timing. So if you're someone who has a very fast metabolism, you might be better off consuming a meal half an hour, 20 minutes before you work out. Now, if you're someone who has a slower metabolism and it takes you a little bit longer for your body to digest the foods and the nutrients, you might work out better trying to have a meal 2 to 3 hours before your workout, because that can have an effect too on your strength in the gym. So I'd be looking at those things as well. But usually it's when you start to notice that your strength is going down in the gym and you're getting weaker on certain exercises that you were stronger before, it's usually related to combination of diet, sleep, and overtraining. So I look at those 3 components, get them all in check, line them up, and then go from there. If you're not sure, you can always DM me, and I'll work with me for a few weeks or a few months, and I'll offer you my coaching services, and we can troubleshoot this together. But it's a pretty common problem, especially for a lot of guys and women who train on a regular basis, and they love the gym, they love working out, but we got to watch, because you do not want to overtrain your body and have those cortisol levels high, because that's only going to cause adverse side effects, and then you're going to be weaker in the gym. You put on body fat more easily. You're more susceptible to injuries. So you got to make sure you don't overtrain, and make sure that your body's always replenished, refreshed, and recovered for your next workout. Okay. Last question. Nick, in your opinion, which gender do you think has a more challenging time staying in shape as they get older? That's a really good question. That's a really good question. I like that. Honestly, I think women. I think women have a much more challenging time and more obstacles in their way to stay in shape as they age. One of those obstacles, hormonal imbalances, right? Going through menopause, premenopausal women. Like you're looking at, there's multiple things that can affect your sleep with hormonal imbalances, your diet, right? And so that right there can have a huge impact. If you're not sleeping, you're having hot flashes, and your quality of sleep, you're sleeping 1 or 2 hours a night, and you're constantly waking up, and then that can affect your diet, because now all of a sudden you need more energy. So yeah, that cup of coffee works, but now you need a little bit of sugar too to just keep that energy going. So you might go for a bagel, cream cheese, a muffin, whatever it is. And so that can affect your diet. And you get to the gym, now you're feeling very lethargic because you haven't slept and you've been following a poor diet all day. And then you're not training as hard, or you skip a workout. So I can see it being a huge obstacle for women more so than men. And mainly because of hormonal imbalances. Men, yeah, we can get hormonal imbalances as we get older. It does happen for sure. I mean, as men get older, there are signs that show that our testosterone levels start to drop as we get older, but I don't think it has nearly the same effect as with women. Now, with that said, though, I train a lot of women. I mean, my roster is probably about 70% women, and I have a lot of women that I train who are over the age of 50 years old, and I mean, they look phenomenal. A lot of these women look better than women in their 20s. And I'm talking like they have more muscle, less body fat, is because they're on it. But I do think, yeah, there's more challenges for the women than there are for the men. Men also have an easier time putting on more muscle than women do, right? And that's because we have more testosterone. So the more muscle you have, the easier it is to burn body fat. So men have more of an advantage in that way as well. But, it does come down to also lifestyle. I mean, if someone's working 40 hours a week and they've got 2 kids to look after, man or a woman, that can really impact your workout as well. But if you're taking a man and a woman and they have the same lifestyle, and they're the same age, I think a woman has more obstacles and more challenges to try to stay in shape than a man does. But it can be done. I've seen it done. I work with some incredible women that are in amazing shape. And I'm just like, holy crap. I mean, if I look as nearly as good as you do when I'm 55, when I'm 60, holy shit. Like it's inspirational. So it can be done. But like I said, it just comes down to not necessarily how hard do you want it, or if someone's lazy versus not lazy. Listen, there are people who are not lazy and who work really hard, but they have a lot of obstacles in their way, right? Both man and woman. So, but if I were to actually think about this right now, I never actually thought about that until this question, but yeah, I think women have a much more challenging time than men do when it comes to staying in shape as they age. So I'm going to say that. And I'm also going to say that the women usually put the guys to shame, especially in the leg workouts. I can tell you right now, the women I train, man, it's just like, I also think women have a higher threshold for pain than men do, because a lot of my female clients, rarely if ever do I hear them bitch and complain about me giving them more weights, giving them more sets, throwing in triple drop sets. But a lot of the guys I train, not all the guys I train, but a lot of the guys I train, oh my God, they whine, they bitch when they get a splinter. So women have a higher threshold for pain. So I think they can handle the obstacles, but I do think they have a little bit more of a challenge as they get older, staying in shape than men would. Anyway, guys, that's it for this week's No Filter Q&A. This episode will be going up on Monday evening. As a reminder, if you have any questions related to your diet, training, or supplementation, please feel free to email me your questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can also DM me those questions on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now.